What's going on, guys? It's CC8, and today we are going to make a Rainbow Six Siege tier list. Every single operator icon, as you can see, is on this list, including Deimos, who I obviously know has not come out yet, but I think I can give him a pretty fair rating. But just based on all of the gameplay that I've seen off of him so far, it's a really, really cool operator that looks awesome, and I really want to, a quote-unquote, just rating on the tier list. Obviously, it's kind of unfair to rate him before playing him, but I just kind of like a pre-rating on this tier list, just to kind of see, how it would stack up against other operators. And I know if you were hoping for Siege gameplay, don't you worry, it should start appearing now. I might go in the top right corner, top bottom right corner, I'm not too sure, but there's going to be a little bit of Siege gameplay going on the screen somewhere so that you can at least listen and hear it in the background, or if you want, you can just straight up watch that gameplay a little bit as I'm doing this tier list, so that you Zoomers that were hoping for it now have it. So anyways, before I get into the tier list though, I do want to say I am still in need of you listening and watching right now. I need the people to be playing with during Siege Week, doing a 1v1 against potentially. Maybe we'll be doing ranked together. I need a few more people to play with, so I have my Instagram linked in the description. Hit me up on Instagram, DM me with your rank and your gamer tag or whatever it is you need me to use to get you invited to a game, and we will try to coordinate something during the week so we can play together. I want to play with you guys because I feel like I just want the community to be a part of this Siege Week. You guys decided on a Siege Week, and I want you to be a part of it. But anyways, enough yapping. Let's start the tier list. So, basically, we're going to start off with all of the, OG operators, starting with Sledge. Now, I used to really, really like Sledge back when he was 2-speed with frags. He was such a good, just great soft breach operator. Really, really solid gun. Used to have access to the SMG-11 as well, which was sick, but they have really nerfed this operator into the ground. Frags aren't as good as they used to be. He has flashes, which are still pretty solid, but he is really a shadow of his former self, I think. So, I don't know, I feel like I might have to put this in C tier. I feel like he's a nice run-of-the-middle kind of operator. He's not really even close to being overpowered, but he is pretty solid in certain situations. If you need a wall open, you can use him, but there are, I think, better soft breach operators. He still has a very good gun. He has good secondary gadgets. The frags are still alright, although they're not as good as they used to be. Flashes are solid, which he has access to, but yeah, just a kind of run-of-the-middle operator. Thatcher, on the other hand, I'm gonna put at B tier. He's had so many nerfs over the years, but I feel like he is still, actually no, I'm putting him at A. I feel like he is still super, super strong. He pretty much counters every single electronic gadget on the defending team, and he's still so, so important to get open walls. Again, there are counters. I feel like a couple years ago I would have put him at S tier, but I think I'm gonna keep him at A tier, even though they've nerfed him so much. He still has really, really good guns, and his gadget is still so, so solid. Now, the other two operators are Smoke and Mute that are on the defending side. Honestly, I'm gonna throw Mute at S tier, and Smoke I'm in between S and A, just because, they have the best shotgun in the game. It's so, so good. I really like Smoke, but I feel like I'm gonna put him at A tier. Still so, so good, and probably one of the better entry denial operators in the game with his, his gas grenades. But Mute is which is pretty sick. Plus, you can also take care of drones. He can take care of a lot of other gadgets as well. So he's got to be S because he's also got some fantastic weapons in his arsenal. Smoke also with a lot of really good weapons. But I'm going to throw him on A tier because I feel like his gas grenades sometimes are a little situational and you only get 3 of them, which, I mean, they are still really good. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, they're not. I don't think they're on that S tier like Mute is. Next up, we have the FBI SWAT operators, Castle, Pulse, Ash, and Thermite. Jeez, I might have to go a little faster because we have so many operators to get through. I'm just realizing, but Thermite, I'm gonna put at B tier, or maybe even C tier, depending. You know what? I am gonna bump him down to C tier because there are a couple other hard breachers that we will get into that are just way better than Thermite. Thermite doesn't have a very good gun. He has access to, I think, smokes and flashes. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I think there are better options in terms of hard breachers that we will get into. And you know what? Since I am kind of just, you know, alluding to there being better hard breachers, I think we're just gonna go straight to all the hard breachers. Hibana, I'm gonna put at B tier. Honestly, I would prefer Hibana over Thermite in certain situations. It would have to depend on the objective in the map, but Hibana just has one of my favorite assault rifles in the game. Although it is only a 20-round magazine, it has probably it's just such a good gun, as well as that SMG secondary that is so good she has access to as well. And she is a 3-speed operator, which is very, very few and far between on the attacking operators. She is really good. Great assault rifle, great gadget, but the reason I'm only putting her at B is because Ace, I think, has to go into S tier. I think he is by far the best, 100% the best hard breacher in the game. Doesn't make the biggest holes in the world with his gadget, but he has the AK-12, which might be the best attacking primary in the game. It is so good. Great fire rate, great accuracy, and very easy to control recoil. And not only that, but his hard breach gadget is good enough, in my opinion. Thermite obviously has the best in terms of, you know, making the biggest holes with his gadgets, but I think Ace's hard breach gadget does the job. Like, it does good enough, if you know what I mean. But anyways, now that we have gotten those hard breachers out of the way, let's continue with the FBI SWAT operators. Ash, I think in the current stage, I'm gonna put her at A, but the next update, the next, season has confirmed that the ACOG R4C is coming back. So I really do want to see how she plays with an ACOG once again, but for now she is gonna go at A. I feel like she's just so solid as a soft breach operator, even still after how many dang nerfs she's gotten, but she is just so reliable, and her gadget is so useful, being able to soft breach walls from afar. It's just been so good for so long. Pulse, I think I'm also going to throw in at A. He is so useful, just being able to relay everyone's information, where enemies are at all times. He can also have some really nasty nitro cell strats, from all over the map, and I just think he's probably one of the best, if not one of the better intel operators on the defense. He's so good. Has the UMP, which isn't the best, defensive primary, but it does have a 1.5 scope. Actually, no, I don't remember if he has a 1.5 scope. Actually, I'm gonna look it up quickly. Okay, so I have indeed confirmed he does have access to the 1.5 scope, which isn't bad, but I think, on the verge of putting him at an S. It's tough. He is so good. He is so good. I'm gonna keep him at A for now. I think in the right hands, he is an S operator. You know what? I'll bump him sure we've all gone up against a Monty in a 1v1 where he's just sitting on the bomb in a corner, fully extended out with his shield, where it's impossible to melee him or shoot him or anything. And now it is a lot easier to hit him while he's fully extended out and kill him. And I think because of that, it is going to be a D tier. Maybe I'll bump him to C tier just because he can be good at collecting intel around him, and in the right hands it can be good. But yeah, it can't be any higher than a C tier, honestly. He is, again, another situational operator. Twitch, ooh, Twitch is, oh man, I think some people are going to be a little annoyed with this one, but I can't give her any higher than a B. Her F2 is amazing on PC, but on controller, which is where I play, she has more recoil than Kim K, bro. It's insane, the recoil that F2 has, and I know a lot of controller players have a hard time controlling that recoil. Plus, her gadget is good, like the Twitch drones are good, but I don't know, man. There are certain defenders that just completely hard counter. It's like Mute, like another operator that we will go into later. But yeah, it's a good gadget, but there are, I think, better options in terms of trying to, counter, defending operators' gadgets. It is good, but I can't give it any higher than a B tier. Doc, I think, has to go down to D tier, bro. Honestly, like, he's got okay guns. His healing gadget it's fine, but it's just not like, I feel like a bit unnecessary. Like, I don't know, man. It's not like there's better options on defense. You don't need a dog. You don't need somebody to heal everybody. It's just not a very necessary operator, because as you start to get better, it becomes a lot harder to, get into that down but not out stage. People are going to be doming you in the head much more often. So yeah, it's got to be a D tier. He's not very good as you go higher up into the ranks. Rook is another one of those operators that is, it's useful, but it's, honestly, I'm going to put Rook at D tier and slide down Doc to E tier, because honestly, Rook is a little better than Doc in the sense where he can benefit the entire team, as opposed to, just either benefiting themselves or just one or two people. But yeah, again, it's another one of those operators where Rook isn't very useful throughout the round. It's just a set it and forget it kind of operator when you don't feel like doing much throughout, the round. But yeah, as you start getting into the higher ranks, headshots become a lot more common, and where that becomes more common, his hardware becomes a little less useful. Next, we have the Russian Spetsnaz operators. Fuse is gonna have to be an E tier also. Honestly, he's just again, as you become up, I feel like I'm gonna say this a lot, but as you go up through the ranks, his gadget just becomes absolutely useless. It can be good for clearing outs, enemy gadgets, but it is super hard countered to, certain other defending operators, and it's just, he has a great primary. The AK-12, like I said, on about Ace, is one of the better primaries in the game, but his gadget isn't very good. Maybe I'll slide him up to D tier because he does have a very good assault rifle, but yeah, his gadget isn't very good. Glass, on the other hand, ooh, he might even have to go to F tier, bro. F or E tier as well. He is, I'm gonna put him at E tier only because there are times where his thermal gadget can, his thermal scope can be useful, but again, in a world where rate of fire and headshots are so important, Glass, I feel like, gets barely any use in the top ranks. So, I don't know, I'll just put him at E because his thermal can be useful very, very situationally, but again, it's just that situational. Now, Tachanka, I think we do have to make a new tier for Tachanka, just solely for him, and it's gonna be the Lord C tier, honestly. He's okay, but he's not very, very amazing. I don't know. Yeah, he's just kind of run in the middle as well. He's okay. It's nothing amazing, but he's not. It's like terrible. Next up is IQ, and honestly, I'm on that IQ hype train, bro. I'm gonna put her up in A tier. I think she has one of the better guns in the game with the 5.52 commando. That thing hits like a truck, and she's 3-speed, and she is, I don't know, her gadget is very, very solid. When it just comes to finding the enemy gadgets, you don't necessarily have to, counter it completely, but just finding them is super, super useful when being able to relay that information to your teammates. So, so good. And the last one is, there's Bandit and Jager now, two defending operators. Jager, I'm gonna throw him in B tier. I think he's still very, very solid. Definitely has been nerfed into the ground over the years, but I still think he has a really solid primary, and his ADS are still one of the best, one of the better defending gadgets in the game. Just being able to clear out nades is so useful. Last is Bandit, and he might have to go into S tier, honestly. I think he's just so pivotal on certain maps and certain objectives. I am going to put him in S tier. Also, the MP7 is sick. He has a nitro cell. He has pretty much everything you need for a good defending operator. He is so useful so often, has a good gadget, and he's a 3-speed. What can't you like about this guy? We're finally out of the day 1 release operators. Now we're going to the Canadian JTF2 operators, which includes Buck and Frost. Buck, I'm gonna have to throw it either into A or S tier. I think he's another one of those soft breach operators that are just super, super good. I might throw him. I'm gonna throw him into S tier, honestly. I think he can be better than Ash in a lot of situations, and he's got a really good primary. Again, that underbarrel shotgun is good for soft breaching, and honestly, in a pinch, it can get you some kills as well. I think it's really, really good. He's just a jack of all trades. He's got good primary, good gadgets, and he also has access to flashbangs, I believe, which are probably one of the better secondary gadgets in the game as well. Frost, on the other hand, I might have to put into S or D tier. I might even do D tier, honestly, especially after getting nerfed, where you can break free out of those bear traps. I don't know, there's just better trap operators in my opinion. It's very easy to destroy these bear traps, very easy to see, and yeah, her primary is dog. One of the slowest fire rates in the game on that SMG, although it does have access to 1.5. I think it's not, I think there are way better options in terms of trap operators. Next up is Blackbeard. We'll just throw him into F tier immediately. He is so terrible, bro. He used to be probably, honestly, if you wanted me to make this tier list a few years ago, he'd be into this category. He was absolutely broken. Go watch videos of his shield. When it first released, it was literally indestructible. But, bro, he is terrible. He has a very underwhelming primary. His gadget is pretty much useless. Like, yeah, it's terrible, man. He is off one of the worst operators in the game, in my opinion. Her counterpart, Valkyrie, though, might go into A or S tier. I think most operators that provide intel are like the lowest they can be is a B tier, but honestly, I'm throwing her into S tier. I think the MPX is so good. Her primary is really, really solid. It's just a laser beam accurate SMG, and she's got a nitro cell and those black it's just that situational. It's not amazing. Already rated Abana, but her counterpart defending operator is Echo. And you know what? I'm going to throw him into A or B tier. I think I'll throw him into A tier because, again, he's another one of those intelligence operators that are so good. He can also deny plants, which is so useful. I would have thrown him into S tier if his drones still went invisible, but they don't anymore. You do get 2 of them, but he's not quite as good as he used to be. I'm going to throw him into A tier, just because, I think he used to be a lot better, but he's still so good. Jackal is another S tier operator. There's a reason he gets banned pretty much every ranked game. Just being able to find and constantly ping the defending operators is just amazing. He is so incredibly useful on the attack. And Mira is another one of those operators who's gonna have to go into A or S tier, and I think I might throw her into S tier as well, honestly. Probably the best defending primary in the vector. She has a shotgun as well, and in order to open up walls as a secondary gadget, she's so good. And those Blackbeards, I feel like, are pivotal on the defense on a lot of different objectives. She is absolutely amazing. A lot of defending strategies are based around her gadgets. Ying, ooh, Ying. This, I think, is either A or S tier. Again, bro, I feel like I'm putting too many operators in S tier, honestly. You know what? I'm gonna slide Buck down into A tier. I don't know why he's in S. He's very good, but he's gonna go down to A tier. I don't feel like he's an S tier operator. Ying, on the other hand, I feel like I'm gonna throw her into A tier because, again, she's very good, but her primary, although it's really solid, doesn't have the best fire rates, so I'll throw her down to A tier. Her counterpart Legion also, I feel like it's gonna go into I'm gonna put him into B tier. He's another just good trap operator. He was so much better when his goo mines were invisible, but now that you can see him, he's a lot easier to counter, and his traps are a lot easier to see. Still very solid. His goo mines are still really good when used properly, but again, a lot easier to counter, and his traps are a lot easier to see. Next up are the Polish operators, and Zofia might be an F or an E tier. I'm not gonna lie, she is not very good. I think she's gonna go into E tier. I don't think she's quite on that Blackbeard level of just being absolutely utterly useless, but yeah, E tier for me. She's not very good, and so many better operators to use on attack. Ash is just a way better version of Sophia. Her sister, Ella, I think is in the same boat. There are better operators to use on defense. I'm gonna throw her at D tier, honestly, just because she I said, good primaries. And I think in the right hands, he is very solid. He can just completely destroy reinforcements with his blowtorch. But not everybody knows how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Maybe just because I'm dumb. But yeah, I think B tier's okay. There's better hard breachers. Yeah, you know, I'm sticking with B tier. I am. Clash, on the other hand, I'm gonna throw her into A tier, man. Honestly, some people this might be a polarizing operator here, but she's gonna go to A tier for me, bro. I think, honestly, with a good team around her, she can beat the entire strategy around a defense. It's pretty hard to counter her as well, and yeah, I don't know. She is just so good in my opinion. I think that just being able to slow down attackers with that electro, whatever it is, the electricity that shocks defender or attackers, is so good. And like I said, using teamwork, she's amazing. Next up, we have Nomad and Kali. I think Nomad is a super hard counter to Clash. I think, honestly though, she's gonna be a B or an A tier. She's really solid for watching flanks. She has some decent primaries. It's tough. I want to throw her in the A tier just because I personally really use her a lot. I really like her, but I think I'm going to throw her into B tier just because there might be better operators to do the job that she does. But she is always a solid pickup, and I personally love using her. So you know what? Screw it. I don't care if you get mad. I'm throwing her to A tier. I really enjoy using her, and that's all that matters. Next, we've got Kali, and he's another, I think, A tier operator. I would personally use Bandit over him a lot of the times, but there are times where, you know, Kali is potentially the better option than Bandit. Plus, he has a couple decent primaries with that shotgun hitting like a truck. That slug shotgun is sick, and his AUG 3 is okay, but usually I use the shotgun over it. Next up, oh, the good old Aussies, the Aussie operators. Well, first up, we got Gridlock again. I think she's a 0 D tier. She's very situational. Being a 3 armor 1 speed operator also doesn't help her out as an attacker. I might throw her down to D tier, I'm not gonna lie. I think her primary, you know, her assault rifle is really solid. S. I'm gonna throw him in A tier because like the Vector is amazing. Having a 1.5 in the Vector is absolutely ridiculous, and I think his gadget is actually awesome as well. You know what? I am gonna throw him into S tier. I think he is all around an amazing operator. Great gadget, great primary, good secondary gadgets as well. I think he's solid. I think he's really, really, really good. Kali, I think, has to be another F operator, bro. She, like, there's no reason to ever use her, in my opinion. Her sniper, why would you ever use that sniper, bro? In a game that is a one-shot headshot, her primary just makes absolutely no sense, in my opinion. And honestly, I think if you're gonna use an operator that destroys enemy gadgets or denies enemy gadgets, you're just gonna use Thatcher. You're gonna maybe use Twitch. There's so many operators that you would use, I think, before her, in order to make her useful. So yeah, I think she's another F operator, bro. Her, on the other hand, her teammate Wamai is an A or an S tier. I think he's another S tier operator. I think he's a better version than Jager. Honestly, if you're gonna use someone to deny nades, you use Wamai, another operator that has that 1.5 scope, and his gadget is incredibly useful. Also has access to impacts, which can be very, very useful as well. So, gotta be an S tier for me. Yana is, I think, gonna be a C tier for me, or yeah, it's gotta be a C tier. A good weapon. She has a good weapon, but she doesn't have the best. Like she's good for gathering intel, but she used to be so much better when she had nades. So I think she is a C tier. She's a very average run-of-the-middle operator that can be useful at times, but used to be way better and isn't nearly as good as she used to be. Oryx. Honestly, this guy is an E or an F tier for me. I think he's E. Like, his whole ability is to make rotationals. Like, it's not very, very good. I'm on the cusp of putting him at F tier, but I think E is fine because, you know what, at least his dashes can be good to get around the map very, very fast, and he can go up hatches, which is pretty sick. And I think his primaries are decent, but yeah, his whole shtick is that he can run through walls, but I don't know, I think it's just incredibly, incredibly useless when there's operators that are, like Mira, mutes smoke, that have shotguns that are just really, really good, that, you can just make rotationals with. Also other operators that have impacts that you can just use. So yeah, he's not very amazing in my opinion. Next up is Lucy, which is an interesting one. I think she used to be ridiculously good, but now they've nerfed her so much that I think she's nothing more than a D she gets an impact thrown at her and just dies immediately. So yeah, we'll throw her at the C tier. She has good primaries, but yeah, her gadget is very hit or miss, I feel. Whew, Thorn. I think it's another C tier trap operator. I feel like I've thrown a lot of these uppers into C tier, but I don't know. Maybe B. This is tough. I want to throw her at B or A. I'm going to throw her at B, honestly, because I feel like those Thorn devices can be so good. In certain objectives, I think, just denying entry is incredible with those gadgets. Paired up with some barbed wire, she can be pretty annoying. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's better trap operators. And you know what? Now that I'm seeing this tier list, I'm seeing Capcan Legion and Thorn all on the same tier, and because of that, I feel like I gotta bump Capcan up to A. I think he's one of the better trap operators at the moment. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's super good. I'm surprised I actually put him in B tier. Could even go into S, but nah, I think that's overkill. I think he's an A tier trap operator, whereas Thorn and Legion, I think, are on B. I think that looks a little better in my eyes. Azami, I think, has to be an A or a B tier. I really like Azami. I think those little walls that you put up are so good. But I saw an update on her that if you shoot those walls, they're gonna get destroyed. Which, if that ends up happening, I think she's just gonna be like a D tier, bro. That would be ridiculous. But in the current stage of the game, I think she's a B or an A tier. Honestly, I might even I'll throw her into A tier, honestly, because like I said, I think her SMG is fun. I really like her SMG. A lot of people use their shotgun on her, the A12, which also hits like a truck, so we will keep her in A. But like I said, if that patch rolls out where those little walls that she throws down can get destroyed just by shooting them, I think that will be an absolutely ridiculous change. But yeah, in the current stage of the game, like I said, she's an A tier. Sense, I think is an F tier, bro. Like, I can't say I've ever used Sense in a useful manner. Like, the whole gadget of Sense is it's just like a smoke. Like, you just throw it, it's just a colored smoke. It's just not very good. It's not a very good gadget. I think her primaries are just, I can't, honestly, for the life of me, I cannot tell you how good the primary is on Sense. Cause I can't, I just never use this operator because it's so useless. If you want an operator that does the job of Sense, you're gonna use somebody with smokes. So yeah, very useless operator in my opinion. Grim, I think, has gotten better. I honestly really like Grim, but I think he's a D tier and an E tier. Yeah, we're gonna throw him into D tier just because I think he's gotten better, but trying C tree